Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support. And while you're at it, if you're a YouTube user, make sure you click that bell so they let you know every single time we put up a new episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. Guys, are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? Stop immediately. Go to Facebook and click on Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users, totally free. Look, you can create a wrestler, sign a contract, get in a storyline, headline pay-per-views, create your own pay-per-views, even create your own corporation from the ground up, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available totally free to all Facebook users. And while you're at it, if you're following this show, make sure you hop on our Discord channel, Pro Wrestling Podcast on Discord. Join the community. Keep up with what's new and exciting in the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you want to be a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts like Mike in Lansdale, then make sure you check out our Patreon page at Pro Wrestling Podcast. Link right on frowrestling.com. And if you're new to the show, make sure you go to our homepage, frowrestling.com, where you can click all the links, see what's coming to the next episode, check out interviews we've done with talent, even go to the independent event webpage where you could see all the shows coming to an area near you by those smaller promotions where you get that really up close and personal one-to-one interaction, unlike going to one of those large WWE shows. Welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm Mr. Fro. I'm here to talk to you guys about what's been going on for the last week or so in the world of professional wrestling. And let's be honest, there's a lot. We're going to start off by talking about the ratings from last night's episodes of both AEW and NXT. And look, if you're AEW right now, you got to be happy. You're the third week in. You're still drawing over 1 million viewers. You're still one of the highest rated programs on TNT. Certainly some of the best ratings TNT has ever received for professional wrestling, with the exception of when they had Raw on TNT. But certainly better than the ECW days. Certainly better than when TNA Impact and things like that were going to channels like that. This is a great situation for AEW. At the same time, NXT draws in 712,000 viewers this week. Just for the record, AEW, 1,014,000 viewers. So between the two shows, 1.7 million. But here's what I want people to understand. The first week that we had this so-called war between these two brands, the turnout was incredible, like 1.4 million, 900-some thousand, and that was awesome. And yes, AEW won. And they won again last week when it was 1.4 million to 790,000. Now we're down to just over 1 million to 712,000. What I want to emphasize here is we're seeing a trend, and that trend is not necessarily a good one. That the viewership every week for both programs is dropping significantly. Okay, yes, AEW still outdid NXT, and by like roughly 42% they outdid NXT. But let's be honest, if we're looking at week 1 versus week 3, we've dropped off 400,000 people in 2 weeks' time. That's not good. Now, it's not terrible. Look, let's be honest. 100,000 people, 200,000 people, 300,000 people, it's not a big deal when you're still drawing in the millions. And let's be honest, AEW has already in 3 weeks drawn more viewers than probably Impact Wrestling has all year. So that's incredible and that's awesome. But the issue is how long can we see this going on where drops take place before a network starts to get a little bit worried? Now, look, I don't know what the viewership numbers were for whatever was in this time slot before on TNT. I'm hoping that fans are realizing something about AEW, and that is, one, yes, they have put on some incredible in-ring action. I have nothing bad to say about the wrestling action. Two, they have gone out of their way to put together matches that a lot of people have never seen or are not familiar with, and it's fresh, it's exciting, it's a total different flavor from what we've seen in WWE for the last several years. But I hope people follow along with the concept long enough that AEW is forced to continue to be creative. And here's what I mean by that. Next week, the main event is going to be Pac versus Jon Moxley. And on paper, that sounds incredible, and I'm looking forward to seeing the match. But how many of these incredible once-in-a-lifetime type matches can AEW do before they've exhausted the roster? Let's be honest. SoCal Uncensored is comprised of 3 guys who are incredible. They're on like the opening match every week. In all reality, you could elevate someone like a Christopher Daniels or a Kazarian into a position where they could feud with some of the top guys. They haven't chosen to do that yet. So that's something that's still in their back pocket. Pac obviously hasn't feuded with Jericho yet. Moxley hasn't feuded with Jericho yet. There's different people who haven't done certain things, but you're giving away prime opportunities. This is almost like a throwback to when Hulk Hogan faced Goldberg on free television for the WCW championship. Jon Moxley versus Pac should not be taking place for free. That should be a pay-per-view level match. It's never happened before, at least not outside of WWE's ring. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't know if it ever happened in WWE's ring, but let's just, for conversation's sake, let's say it never happened. Because if it did, none of us remember it. So you have an opportunity to present something very unique and special. And AEW, in their efforts to really garner the most excitement early out of the gate, they're giving that match away for free on their 4th week of television programming. And that's a match that should have waited. That should have waited for a pay-per-view. I love what they did with Hangman Page and Kenny Omega taking on Moxley and Pac, because what ended up happening is you didn't give us the singles matches that you can create from those 4 guys, but you still got to see those 4 guys in the ring, almost like a teaser for all the potential matches coming in the future. And coming out of that, what happens? We get Moxley versus Pac next week. And they've blurred the lines between who's the babyface, who's the heel, all that. It's so new and exciting, but at the same time, it puts up a red flag that, hey, maybe we got to keep an eye on this, because maybe they're being a little too creative every week, trying to draw in this incredible viewership, and they're going to leave their cupboard bare when it comes to main events down the pike. And let's be honest, they've been giving us these incredible matches, and their ratings have still been dropping. Not enough to be a concern or put up any alarms yet. Drawing, like I said, a 1 million plus people is still a great number, but you drew 1 million people knowing that Moxley and Omega were going to be in the ring together for the first time legit this week. And less people tuned in than last week. So that's a little bit of a concern for me. So definitely something to keep our eyes on. I think that you're going to continue to see All Elite Wrestling win the ratings war, at least for the foreseeable future, unless WWE really goes out of their way to put together a card for NXT that just blows everybody away. But I don't see that happening right now. WWE always says they just focus on their business, and I believe that. All Elite Wrestling has made multiple references to WWE, whether it goes all the way back to Cody destroying the King Slayer or the King Chair or whatever, the Triple H knock back at Double or Nothing, or you talk about Chris Jericho last week when he came out and was making fun of the fans for shouting out "We the People" and made fun of WWE creative. Like, you don't go there. Work on building your brand. Stop worrying about WWE's brand. WWE seems to be doing that. WWE is not rushing to put out the most incredible lineup they ever could. Let's face it, NXT this week was headlined by Pete Dunne versus Damian Priest. There's a lot of people in mainstream media who don't even know who Damian Priest is. For him to be put in a main event spot on the same night that Tommaso Ciampa is returning to the ring, that says something about WWE's philosophy about this NXT brand. They're not going to rush it. They're going to try to do it organically. And that's something you don't see on Raw and SmackDown. So thank God Triple H is in charge of NXT, because I think they actually, it's almost like if you watch the old DVD about the Monday Night Wars. Yeah, Eric Bischoff for 83 weeks and WCW won the ratings war for 83 weeks, but WWE was putting butts in seats all around the country every single week. Now, what I'm saying when it comes to NXT is AEW may be winning the initial war, but down the line, WWE is strategically positioning themselves that they're losing those matches, putting up subpar matchups. And when I don't mean that the matches themselves are bad. Pete Dunne and Damian Priest is a good match. But it's not Ciampa versus Gargano for free. You know what I'm saying? It's not somebody who's too prime mainstream, right? It's not Finn Balor and Adam Cole for the NXT championship. They do that, that's a problem. And they aren't. They're not biting on that. They're not worrying about their ratings. They're just working on building their brand. And that's a good, smart decision by WWE. Other WWE news, gotta have a little bit of a discussion about the results from the draft, how absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous this draft is. Let's be honest, I don't think AEW is a threat to WWE's main two shows, but let's be real here. Right now, wrestling in general is in a boom period. And I know a lot of people are hesitant to claim that. I'm going to go there. When you have the NWA reemerging, AEW jumping into the fold, New Japan is in the news this week, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. AAA, CMLL, both coming to the United States, Ring of Honor doing some revolutionary things. When you have all this going on, Impact Wrestling, better TV deals and things like that, it's time to put out a product that is just unstoppable. And instead, we get a draft that doesn't even make sense. Let me tell you one of the things that really drove me nuts. You draft Alexa Bliss and you draft, oh my gosh, what the heck is her name? I'm drawing a blank. Alexa Bliss's tag team, or Nikki Cross. You draft Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross on separate draft picks, and then the next day trade them as part of a trade as a tag team. Why weren't they drafted as a tag team to begin with, like the Kabuki Warriors, like the Iconics who were moved over to Raw? Why were they split up and then reunified and put over to SmackDown, where this week they're going to have a 6-pack challenge and they'll be singles competitors again? Like, I just don't understand how the draft was supposed to have made sense. You're drafting the New Day as 3 guys. You draft the OC as 3 guys, but you draft those 2 and they're separate. I don't get that. And then Harper and Rowan are 2 separate guys. It's almost like they're going to push Rowan some more and they're ready to kill off Harper, which is horrible. Harper's been great since he came back. Vince McMahon is either out of touch or clueless when it comes to Luke Harper, because that guy is a stud. And maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're going to give Luke Harper a push. I hope they do. He deserves it. He's been there long enough. But when someone like him, or Cesaro didn't even get drafted, because a few years ago, we all wanted him to be world champion. And in the years since, he was stuck in a tag team and he's been moved down the mid-card so much that he's not even a legitimate contender to the United States Championship, much less the Intercontinental, the Universal, or the WWE title. So at the end of the day, they've killed off so much of their characters that they're now going to find themselves in a pinch trying to figure out what to do with all these free agents and everything else. And I know they assigned a bunch of people to different places and all that, but it just was so nonchalantly put together. And how bad were the draft room representations for both USA Network and Fox? Like, that was just overkill, hokey 1980s, 90s, kayfabe nonsense. I hated it. I didn't need to see the robot from the NFL Sunday morning kickoff shows on the Fox channel. I didn't need to see that. That's dumb. This is wrestling. We don't have nothing to do with football. You know darn well that nobody at Fox and nobody at USA Network were sitting in a draft room picking draft picks. Those picks were all picked way ahead of time. Heck, WWE even put the list of them out before the draft took place and had to apologize because now everybody knew where everybody was going before the draft even happened. That's how poorly put together this was. And they had plenty of time to get ready for it. So that's an indictment on WWE and their planning. Horrible, horrible planning on their part. Triple H in the news this week talking about his goal for NXT, and he truly feels like NXT is a main roster brand and one that can be vastly different from Raw and SmackDown, but that can be on the level or exceed Raw and SmackDown. And that's a bold statement to make when your father-in-law is who Vince McMahon is. And I love it because it tells you how much confidence Triple H has in his own booking ability, which when Vince ever rides off into the pasture, should just tell you that if the reins are turned over to Stephanie and Triple H, that it may be in some good hands, because Triple H clearly has his finger on the pulse of the fans a lot more than Vince McMahon does. At least that's my perception of what's going on. Going to get into some other random news. Arn Anderson was in the news last week. He was at a Championship Wrestling from Arkansas event. I don't even know what that means. And they were crowning their first Championship Wrestling from Arkansas champion. Now, how can you have Championship Wrestling from Arkansas champion? Why'd you put the word Arkansas in there twice? Seems so redundant. But anyways, he came out and he hits a spine buster on Buff Bagwell, former WCW superstar, who, by the way, for his age, actually looks pretty good. He's certainly not buff in the stuff anymore, but he's better than I ever thought he would be at this stage of his career. Comes out, hits the spine buster, makes his appearance, and I'm going to tell you right now, I hated it when Arn Anderson had to retire, but I am hating it every bit as much for him to come out and do these one-off power, these spine busters out of nowhere. I think it's not good for his legacy. Keep him out of the ring. The guy's in his mid-60s. Let's just move on. But, I'm great for him. I hope he got a payday for that, but not something I care to see very often. Injury update on Luchasaurus. Apparently, the word going around backstage was that he has torn his hamstring, which would be a multiple-month injury, and this couldn't have come at a worse time. He ended up getting replaced by Marco Stunt on AEW Dynamite, participating in their tag team match. And as much as I thought Stunt looked awesome in the ring, I thought he looked so funny, especially with as short as he is, and Jungle Boy still looks great. The two of them are nothing without him, and I'm not knocking them. They're still great talents, but he's the muscle, they're the flash, and that's what you need for that tag team to take off. And without him, it's going to be really tough to see any of the three of them getting any kind of traction. Hopefully he gets patched up and gets back quickly. Nick Aldis in the news. Yes, the NWA Power Show, in my opinion, purely my opinion, was a success its first week, and also his second week. I enjoyed the second show as well. But Nick Aldis is in the news, the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, claiming he wants a match with CM Punk in Chicago for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, and he believes that if he gives Punk half the house, that they could sell out and Punk could make millions from that one match, because that's how much drawing power he feels Punk would have in Chicago. And I got to tell you, I can't disagree with him. Now, do I think Punk will do it? No, I don't, because I don't think at this stage in his life he's looking for just a hand-me-down payday. But if Punk was looking to make some cash, it would be an incredible opportunity. And if he is ever going to return to a WWE ring, it'd be a great tune-up. Nick Aldis is one of the best technical wrestlers in the world. We did an interview with him here on the show. You can check that out at ProWrestling.com and listen to that interview. He's a really great guy, and I think that he would do a really great job of protecting Punk in the ring, considering he's been gone for, since 2014, so 5 years. It's almost like Shawn Michaels going out with the back injury and coming back. But, I would love to see it. Now, he's not the only person calling for Punk. Master P was in the news last week. He took over House of Glory, and which is an incredible independent promotion. Please check out House of Glory sometime. They really do put on a good show. But Master P, the rapper, took over the company, and he wants CM Punk, and he was shooting his mouth off about how he's coming for Vince McMahon, and you better watch out, I'm in the wrestling business, and all this and that. I don't care one iota about him taking over House of Glory. I don't think he has a snowball's chance in heck of doing anything of substance that Vince McMahon's going to care about. But signing CM Punk, that would actually, I'm sure, ruffle some feathers. I just don't see it happening, no matter how much money he throws at him. New Japan Pro Wrestling held their King of Pro Wrestling event, which is always one of the big events that sends us towards Wrestle Kingdom. And this is where you kind of start to solidify who's going to main event Wrestle Kingdom. And Sonata got the opportunity to challenge Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Okada retained his championship, which is great. He'll be in the main event at Wrestle Kingdom. John Moxley and Zack Sabre Jr. were supposed to be on the shows. Moxley was the IWGP United States champion, and he actually had to forfeit the championship because, the typhoon that hit, and I apologize, I don't remember the name of the typhoon. The typhoon that hit ended up making it so he and Zack Sabre Jr. couldn't even get into Japan. So they were replaced on the show, which actually turned out to be kind of a good thing. Juice Robinson was supposed to challenge John Moxley for the IWGP United States title, and I thought that match has already been done a couple times, and none of them actually impressed me. Instead, Lance Archer, who anybody who knows anything about Mr. Fro here, I am a huge fan of Lance Archer's, and he got the opportunity to step in and won the IWGP United States Championship. He's only the 7th IWGP US champion in history, and congrats to him, his first major singles championship. And then at the end of the match, David Finlay, the son of Fit Finlay, came out. He returned. He's been out for like 8-9 months with an injury. He came out at the end of Lance Archer's appearance, winning the championship, and clearly that'll be the next feud, which I think is good for New Japan Pro Wrestling to continue to keep gaijin, or American wrestlers, facing each other for the United States Championship, and then use them as figureheads for when they send a show over here. I just feel like New Japan has kind of died off a bit since Omega and the Young Bucks left. The Elite essentially leaving New Japan, in the United States at least. And I'm not talking about their show on Access. That's a whole nother issue. But just the number of shows and the quality of the shows have taken a dip. I am frustrated that whenever you turn on Access Television, IWGP or New Japan or whatever you want to call it, their programming is always stuff from like 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and every once in a blue moon you get something from 2019, and it's from like January of 2019. They're doing shows all the time. Heck, they're doing the Super Juniors Tag Team Tournament right now. You should be putting those matches by the end of the week. So they have the match, people watch it on New Japan World on, say, a Monday. By that week on Friday, anybody who cares about New Japan has already read the spoilers online. Put the show on your Friday show or your Saturday night show and give us some current action. I'm tired of watching 5-year-old IWGP Intercontinental Championship matches between, Shinsuke Nakamura and Kazuchika Okada. Like, I don't need to see that anymore. I want to see new stuff. These are the guys who are actually challenging for the championships now. That's what I want to see. Kota Ibushi was at the show. He defeated Evil. He is going to retain his championship opportunity at Wrestle Kingdom. He won that in the G1 Climax. He went out and said he wants to be the first man to challenge for and take both the IWGP World Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championship at the same time. That is not going to happen, I don't believe, at the show, but he will challenge for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. New Japan announced that he will no longer have no other defenses of his championship opportunity, and that he will be in the main event at Wrestle Kingdom as well. So it'll be Kota Ibushi versus Kazuchika Okada. Glory by Honor took place this past week as well. Kelly Klein won the Women of Honor Championship from Angelina Love. And I'm not going to say a ton about the show. Ring of Honor has been doing a pretty solid job. The reason I emphasize that match is it kind of bothers me. You put the championship on Angelina Love a month ago. Ring of Honor has always been known for like their long championship reigns and really establishing a championship to mean something, not moving it from person to person to person. And to give it to Angelina Love, who's a legitimate female superstar, and take it off her so fast makes me feel like it was a worthless title change. And it kind of in a lot of ways devalues that championship. So I'm hoping they don't continue to do that, because I think that was just a really, really poor decision on Ring of Honor's part, but we'll have to wait and see. The word broke this week that Mike Kanellis requested his release from WWE. This is not the first time. He only just signed a 5-year contract extension this past July, and he's already asking to get out. And he put a whole thing on Twitter talking about how he did what he thought was best for his family monetarily, but he doesn't want to sit on the sidelines. He tells his daughter, he wants to be able to tell his daughter to work hard for everything you have, and he feels like he can't in good conscience say that and then sit on the sidelines and collect a paycheck. Well, Mike, here's a clue. You signed a deal. Honor your deal. If you want to get more TV time, get your butt in the gym. And I know he has been. Congratulations to Mike Kanellis on totally transforming his body and his mental health and his addiction issues and becoming an incredible wrestler who looks great and hopefully emotionally is great. But dude, it takes more than that. You're paying dues because of your past. WWE wants to know that they can run with you. You've had more screen time this year than tons of other talents. You've had probably more screen time than Lucha House Party, and that's 3 different guys. Now, let's be honest. The whole angle with Maria winning the 24/7 title and him being like her manservant and all this stuff and her being pregnant by Rusev or whatever that nonsense was about, it's all stupid, but it's screen time. We're not talking about football, basketball, baseball, legit sports. We're talking about a choreographed athletic exhibition. I'm not crapping on wrestling. Y'all know I love wrestling, and I think the physicality they go through is insane on the body, worse than any other sport out there. But what I'm saying is when you know it's all a work, stop complaining about what you're doing in your job as long as you're doing your job, because he's still at the house shows. They're still using him in the ring. He's just not getting to be on TV almost at all. So that's what he needs to be focusing on, and stop complaining. Like, what do you want? You want to go back to New Japan and be a light heavyweight again? compete in the light heavyweight tag team tournament again, something like that. Like, it's just, I feel like the guy just needs to stop and do what he needs to do. Of course, Maria came to his defense on Twitter, and I respect her for that. You know, that she's a great supportive wife, but this guy needs to stop and really get his grips on what he's doing as a professional wrestler. Eric Young was in the news because he was reacting to being drafted to Raw, pretty much putting out there how much he feels like he's not being used on television, and now maybe people will see what he's got to offer. And then they literally put him on this week, and they made him look like complete garbage anyways. So I don't know what he was worried about, because nothing really changed in his world. And if he's got a problem, then request your release too. Let's be honest here. WWE is not going to grant anybody a release at this point. I'm just tired of hearing people complain. If you don't like what you're doing, live out your contract, and when it's over, leave. Do what Jon Moxley did. I have mad respect for Jon Moxley. He didn't want to be in WWE since shortly after 2015 and stayed all the way through his contract so he could go do whatever he wanted. That's the marker of a true man living up to his word. Stop asking for releases, people. It's absolutely ridiculous. Do I want to see an All Elite Wrestling or somewhere else? Probably, but not the wrong way. I want you to be honorable. We haven't seen the Usos or Naomi on TV yet. They apparently have no creative plans for them. Yeah, Jimmy Uso screwing up with his second DUI or DWI or whatever driving while intoxicated charge he's got now, and they haven't been used since. And at this point, I wonder if WWE even wants to invest any more time and money in people who clearly are not worried about the best interests of WWE. Same thing with Jeff Hardy. When he gets back from his injury, I wouldn't make him a marquee component of the program. Why would you? So he can go out and be on the news for being a complete, lush? And I'm not trying to dump on Jeff Hardy. I know he's had his demons in the past. But clearly the guy needs help. Twice for him as well this year. Like, come on, people. You're professional athletes. Kids buy your t-shirts. What kind of role models are you for young people when you're going out and getting trashed all the time and getting busted? Get your lives in order. Ask for time. And WWE is one of the best companies in the world for taking care of their wrestlers' emotional health and substance abuse problems. Take them up on the offer. Go get help, get clean, and come back bigger, better, and stronger than you were before. Because all those that I just mentioned, the Usos, Naomi, and the Hardys, and all that, they have so much they could be offering the business, but right now it's limited because of these personal demons. Get help. I pray for them, all of them. Get the help you need. Because at this point, I'm sad with how their careers have gone this year. I really am. Crown Jewel matches have been announced, several. We already knew about the Braun Strowman and Tyson Fury thing. We already knew about Velasquez and Brock Lesnar, which apparently now is for the WWE Championship. I don't know how that works. I'm just going to show up and get a title shot for Velasquez. But what I'm most interested in so far is the WWE Crown Jewel Tag Team Turmoil match to determine the WWE World Cup winners. No singles World Cup this year, maybe because they're writing Shane McMahon off TV for a while. The match is going to include the New Day, the Viking Raiders, the OC, the B-Team, Revival, Ryder and Hawkins, Heavy Machinery, Ziggler, Robert Roode, Lucha House Party. So there's all these teams involved. I'm okay with that. I have a problem with the fact that the AOP were at the last Saudi Arabia show, have never been brought back to TV with the exception of these vignettes lately since. And now you're going back to Saudi Arabia, and you don't have them be a part of the Tag Team Turmoil match. And this is a match that would have been great for them, the Usos, everybody you've got on your roster. Every tag team in WWE should have been a part of this Tag Team Turmoil situation. That's what they should be doing. Unless they're doing another Battle Royal, which I think would be stupid, do it this way. And they needed to add some people. And unfortunately, I think they dropped the ball with this because you really did miss out on some really great teams being able to be a part of a very big show. So hopefully, maybe they add a few, maybe they take some of the weak ones out. I don't know. It's definitely something to keep your eye on. I said earlier, New Japan Pro Wrestling was in the news for something major, and that is that the parent company of New Japan has purchased the company that was known as Stardom, which is a Japanese female wrestling company. Apparently, they're going to operate as separate entities. But Stardom is where you see people like Io Shirai and Bo Priestley and Toni Storm and all these other talents have wrestled in Japan. WWE actually wanted to buy them, and the deal couldn't get made, and instead New Japan has now purchased them, or their parent company. WWE's trying to buy anybody. They tried to buy Pro Wrestling Noah, apparently, and that didn't work out. They wanted to take Pro Wrestling Noah and turn it into WWE NXT Japan, and they're going to do that at some point. Japan better get on, they should be on alert right now to buy up and tie up as much talent as they can, because WWE's coming. They want the Japanese market. They're going to get it one way or another, by hook or by crook. So, I'm surprised Noah didn't sell out. I'm sure WWE made a substantial offer, but not yet. We'll have to wait and see what happens in the future. CMLL and New Japan Pro Wrestling are actually teaming up for Fantastica Mania. A lot of the CMLL Mexican talents will be coming up and working matches with New Japan talent. I love this because New Japan has done so much with Ring of Honor. They've done stuff with AAA. They've done a little bit of stuff with Impact Wrestling. I think there's probably potential to do something with AEW at some point. But what I really like here is CMLL, I think, often gets looked at like it's like the bastard child of Mexican wrestling, and AAA is like the marquee. And in some ways that may be true, but not always. CMLL can actually put on a pretty good show. So I'm hoping this gets them some exposure. AAA's been hogging all the spotlight lately with Phoenix and Pentagon Dark and all this stuff. I really hope that we get an opportunity to see some great action from CMLL and that can help bolster their roster going forward. And the last thing of this episode, Alicia Fox and the Bella Twins have both been moved to the alumni page of wwe.com. Now, we have not heard that she was let go, meaning Alicia Fox or the Bella Twins for that matter. We know that Bella Twins had announced they were retired, so that makes sense. But Alicia Fox, we haven't heard anything about. Now, we know she had her own substance abuse issues earlier this year, supposedly coming in drunk and all that kind of stuff. But WWE usually makes some kind of statement if they let somebody go. Now, maybe they haven't. Maybe she's going to work with female talents, or maybe she's going to do something. I don't know what she would do. But if they're not going to use her, then I wish they would do something, about letting people know these things. Because let's face it, there's people who've been like speculating, what is Alicia Fox up to now? Where has she been? Is she injured? And yeah, I know it's not a lot of people asking. So, don't give me a bunch of hate mail on the feedback you guys give me. But let's be honest, we always like to know where anybody is. We know Sheamus is getting close to returning. We're excited about that. Well, we might want to know about, Alicia Fox and see what's going on in her world. I'm curious if they ever use her again for anything. But for now, in the alumni section. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us. Next episode, we'll run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, goes out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com. They produce all the music and sound effects we use in our shows. Today's podcast is sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the page. And to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college, university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our sister website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. If you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.tsj101sports.com, where they cover everything: football, basketball, baseball, college sports, but they also cover what you and I love, professional wrestling. Incredible articles there. Check them out. We are the official podcast of TSJ Sports, and we want to see you checking out their articles at www.tsj101sports.com. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night, and let's be honest, keep your eyes on that AEW versus NXT feud. I think it's going to get only better as time goes on. NXT, I think, is going to start picking up steam. AEW, little worried about you. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.